Today is Monday, September 20th. We'll tell you about a big decision from an FDA panel, likely affecting who will and will not be allowed to get COVID-19 vaccine booster shots. Also, something very rare for top U.S. military leaders, they're apologizing for a deadly mistake in a war zone. Plus, an update about the first all-civilian spaceflight and how much money it raised for charity, who won big at last night's Emmy Awards, and a new service that lets fans chat one-on-one in real time with celebrities. Welcome to The Newsworthy. All the day's news in around 10 minutes. Fast, fair, fun, and on the go. I'm Erica Mandy. Thanks so much for being here. You ready? Let's do this. It seems most Americans will have to wait a bit before getting extra doses of COVID-19 vaccines. An FDA advisory panel voted against making a third shot of Pfizer's vaccine available to the general public in the United States. Instead, the group decided booster shots should only be available for American seniors or people who are at high risk of severe illness. And they would get them 6 months after getting their second dose. That's the recommendations, at least. The full FDA still has the final say, although the agency typically follows the panel's recommendations. It's also not exactly clear who would qualify as high risk. That decision will likely fall to the CDC's advisory committee that's meeting later this week. So why not give booster shots to everyone? Well, the FDA panelists reviewed all of Pfizer's data late last week, and they said it looks like protection against COVID-19 does start fading over time. But most of them also said an overwhelming number of vaccinated people still have enough protection to keep them out of the hospital or to keep them from dying. Experts say they expect booster shots to be available to everyone eventually, just not yet. So far, the FDA panel has only reviewed data about boosters from Pfizer. It is expected to start reviewing similar data from Moderna and Johnson & Johnson in a few weeks. Top American military leaders now say the U.S. made a tragic mistake in Afghanistan last month. Just a couple of days before leaving the country for good, the Pentagon launched a drone strike. At the time, officials said that strike killed an ISIS terrorist and kept him from attacking American troops at the Kabul airport, just like other suicide bombers had done days earlier. But the Pentagon says after analyzing the attack more, the military figured out the man actually worked for a U.S. aid group, not ISIS, and he was transporting water to his family, not explosives. That man and 9 other civilians were killed, including 7 children. Senior Pentagon leaders apologized and said they will try to make reparations payments to the victims' loved ones. Still, they'll probably face tough questioning from lawmakers about this. Some members of Congress on both sides of the aisle have already said they want more accountability and to make sure this kind of mistake does not happen again. It could be one of America's quickest large-scale removals of migrants in decades. The U.S. is working to deport thousands of Haitian refugees who have been camped under a bridge in South Texas. The U.S. has already flown hundreds of them back to Haiti, and this week it will start 6 or 7 removal flights a day for about 3 weeks. Mexico is also going to start deporting Haitians on flights this week. Huge groups of Haitians have been trying to migrate to the U.S. for years now. There was a big influx after a devastating earthquake in 2010. Then another deadly earthquake this summer, and the assassination of their president made things even worse. Now the U.S. does not have facilities large enough to accommodate all the migrants. And that's why about 12,000 of them have been kept under a bridge near the U.S.-Mexico border while officials work to process immigration paperwork. And then most are getting sent home. The Haitian government is asking the U.S. to stop the evacuation flights, saying the country cannot handle thousands more homeless people right now. Human rights groups have also criticized the U.S. government's actions. But the flights continue. Border officials say they have no choice but to enforce the law. And the Biden administration keeps warning migrants not to try to cross into the U.S. without authorization. Relations between the U.S. and France are rocky right now. France is upset about a deal the U.S. made with Australia to build nuclear-powered submarines. That's because it effectively canceled a similar deal France had with Australia, and that one was worth about $66 billion. France said it was blindsided when its contract was canceled, and its president was so upset he pulled the country's ambassadors out of the U.S. and Australia. But the Australians say France should have known something like this was coming. Australia has apparently been voicing concerns that the French submarines would be obsolete by the time they were delivered. Still, French officials have called the new deal a major breach of trust. Here in the U.S., President Biden is set to speak with France's president in the next few days. Stay tuned. The rally at the U.S. Capitol that was meant to show support for the January 6th rioters ended up smaller than expected. Fewer than 500 people showed up for the, quote, Justice for J6 rally. For comparison, tens of thousands of people showed up on January 6th to protest the outcome of the presidential election before the riot broke out. There were a lot more police officers and news crews out there this weekend, though, since officials were worried about violence. Rally organizers say that extra police presence kept a lot of people from showing up. Also, several conservative figures, including former President Trump, told supporters the whole event was a setup. It ended up being mostly peaceful. Now the fencing that went up ahead of the rally in D.C. is coming down. But other similar events are planned for around the country this weekend, mostly at state capitals. All right, we have more news coming up, but first a quick break to thank our sponsor, KiwiCo. Have you tried KiwiCo yet? My family and I have had so much fun with it, from the excitement of receiving our very first crate in the mail to the joy of knowing it's helping to both entertain and teach our little boy. It's also a nice change of pace for us parents. I know I sometimes get bored of playing with the same toys or just feel kind of clueless about what to play with next. If you're not familiar, KiwiCo creates super cool hands-on projects for kids of all ages to make learning fun. And they're specifically designed to expose children to concepts in STEAM, as in science, technology, engineering, art, and math. Each box is delivered monthly and comes with all the supplies needed for that month's project. KiwiCo crates cover a wide range of subjects, and it's a great way to start the school year. KiwiCo is redefining learning with hands-on projects that build confidence, creativity, and critical thinking skills. There's something for every kid at KiwiCo. Get 50% off your first month plus free shipping on any crate line with code NEWSWORTHY. That's 50% off your first month at KIWICO, KiwiCo.com, promo code NEWSWORTHY. The first fully amateur private space crew returned to Earth safely. The Inspiration 4 crew splashed down in the Atlantic Ocean over the weekend after orbiting the Earth for 3 days. None of the 4 passengers are traditionally trained astronauts, but they still circled the globe more than a dozen times a day in the SpaceX Crew Dragon capsule at the altitude of 367 miles. That's about 100 miles further away from Earth than the International Space Station. While in orbit, the crew did experiments to better learn how zero gravity impacts the human body. They also answered questions from patients at St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. The space mission was set up as a fundraiser for that hospital and has since raised at least $200 million. Billionaire Jared Isaacman, who funded the mission, donated the first $100 million, and SpaceX founder Elon Musk said he would contribute $50 million. Another $50 million came from smaller donations. If you get sick with the measles, the federal government can now order you to quarantine. President Biden signed an executive order adding measles to an existing list of diseases that force patients to self-isolate. This is a big turnaround from just about 20 years ago. Health officials declared measles eliminated in the year 2000, but the disease has reemerged over the years, especially among unvaccinated people. The CDC says there were more than 1,200 cases reported in 2019, the largest number in nearly 30 years. The White House says recent outbreaks influenced the decision to add measles to the quarantine list, plus several Afghan refugees who recently landed in the United States were diagnosed with measles. That federal quarantine list also includes diseases like cholera, smallpox, tuberculosis, the plague, yellow fever, and of course, COVID-19. A high-profile murder trial has come to an end. New York real estate heir Robert Durst has been found guilty of killing his best friend Susan Berman. Durst has faced accusations of murder for decades. It really all started in 1982 when his first wife mysteriously disappeared. Prosecutors say Susan Berman helped Durst cover up that murder, and that Durst then killed Berman in the year 2000 so she could not tell police what she knew. The trial finally got going this year, and now he's been found guilty. Durst faces life in prison. A judge is set to sentence him in October. And that will be the final word in a case that garnered attention for years. It was even featured in the HBO documentary The Jinx in 2015, as well as the 2010 movie All Good Things starring Ryan Gosling and Kirsten Dunst. As expected, streaming platforms dominated last night's Emmy Awards. Netflix was the network with the most wins. In fact, Netflix's The Crown was the night's biggest winner overall. It won 7 awards, including Best Drama Series, as well as Best Lead Actor and Actress in a Drama. On the comedy side, Apple TV's Ted Lasso won for Best Series, and it brought in 3 other awards as well, like Best Lead Actor in a Comedy. That was a first Emmy for Jason Sudeikis. Best Lead Actress in a Comedy, though, went to Jean Smart for HBO's Hacks. RuPaul also made history by winning the most Emmys ever by a person of color when RuPaul's Drag Race won Best Competition Series for a 4th straight year. And Cedric the Entertainer hosted the ceremony, making him only the second solo black host in the event's history. You can now talk to some celebrities in real time. The video messaging app Cameo just launched a new service called Cameo Calls. Fans can book one-on-one video sessions that are up to 15 minutes long. Cameo says the average price is about $30 right now, but each celebrity decides how much to charge. Cameo is comparing the chats to traditional meet and greets where fans typically wait in long lines for a chance to take a picture with their idol. More than 500 stars have signed on, including actors, athletes, comedians, and social media influencers. Think Gilbert Gottfried, Joey Lawrence, Billy D. Williams, and more. Already, Cameo is best known for offering pre-recorded video messages from celebrities like birthday wishes. And that's it for your main news today, but now it's time for Money Monday, when we talk about one interesting money-related news story. But first, a quick break to thank our sponsor, Rothy's. Fall is in the air, and what better way to welcome the season than with new shoes? From cool flats to sneakers made for adventure, Rothy's has everything you need to start fall on the right foot. Plus, their spacious washable bags are perfect for carrying your essentials. And good news for the guys listening, Rothy's shoes are no longer just for women. Yep, Rothy's now sells men's sneakers and men's driving loafers. No matter what style you choose this fall, Rothy's shoes are known to be comfortable. In fact, comfortable is the #1 word used to describe their shoes when Rothy's surveyed thousands of customers. And I agree. I love that I can throw on any pair of my Rothy's shoes and not worry that my feet will hurt or get blisters. And that was true from day one, right out of the box. And to help you welcome the fall season in style, Rothy's is doing something special. That's right, they gave us the chance to share the super rare opportunity with our listeners for a limited time. Right now, you can get $20 off your first purchase at rothys.com/newsworthy. That's ROTHYS, rothys.com/newsworthy. Head to rothys.com/newsworthy to find your new favorites today. Okay, now back to Money Monday. It seems Americans are still hooked on gaming, and they're spending record amounts of money on it. Video game sales in the U.S. reached $4.4 billion last month. That's a new record for August. It's also the 4th month in a row when total sales topped 2020 levels. In terms of the number of consoles sold, the top seller continues to be the Nintendo Switch. But when it comes to actual dollar sales, the PlayStation 5 is making the most money. Analysts say the release of the new Madden NFL game from EA Sports also drove sales. It's the 22nd game in the series to debut at the top of the video game sales charts. The gaming industry was among those that surged at the start of the pandemic as people looked for ways to stay entertained in their homes. Bloomberg News reports analysts expected sales numbers to dip when the economy opened back up. But the opposite has happened. So far this year, gamers have spent nearly $38 billion total on consoles, games, and other hardware. That's 13% more compared to the same time frame in 2020. All right, thank you so much for listening today. Be sure to subscribe or follow for free in your podcast app to always see our new daily episodes and stay in the know. We'll be back with much more news tomorrow. Until then, have a great day.